Hello and welcome. Good afternoon, sleepy BNI members. This is a great time to present on this topic. Early afternoon, right before lunch. I hope you are comfortable in your chair, your mind is relaxed, and your body is focusing on digestion. If you tend to be one of those sleepy people after a meal, I challenge you not to eat carbs for lunch. Stick to those vegetables and protein and see if that changes your post-lunch lull. I'm really counting on this presentation putting you to sleep so you can be more successful in your business, personal life, and daily activities. A little bit about me. My name is Dr. Jaz. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine. I grew up in the Midwest and I moved out to San Diego, California to attend school to get both my master's and my doctorate in Eastern medicine. I am co-owner of a clinic in the Hillcrest Banker Hills area, and I specialize in digestive and emotional health. I've traveled both to Thailand and China to enhance my studies. If you have any questions about what I do and want to learn more, feel free to book a one-to-one. So let me ask you this. Do you experience any of these challenging symptoms? You can't fall asleep at night, you can't stay asleep at night, or you wake during the night. And perhaps you're one of the people that fall into these categories. You take medication for sleep and you've been on them for years. You've done a sleep study. You have a CPAP machine. Or maybe you have disruptive sleep issues, like you can't turn your mind off. You're stressed out about work, home, family, or you have an animal, a pet, a child, or even a partner that keeps them awake. Here are some of the health implications of poor sleep and sleep disorders. You can experience inflammation, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, depression, anxiety, cognitive decline like Alzheimer's, and there's a higher mortality rate too. None of these issues are desirable, but they happen because we don't prioritize our sleep or take steps to change it. So let me ask you another question. How many hours of sleep did you get last night? Go ahead and count. I'll wait. And now think about how many hours you should have gotten last night. I'll bet you know that answer real quick. 7 to 9 hours is typical for an average adult. And if you're not getting that much sleep, then you're not getting the restoration that you need in order for your brain to function clear, for your body to heal, and for you to be productive throughout your day. What is your belief system around sleep? We have this bizarre perspective of sleep that it gets in the way and it's an inconvenience when in fact it should be included as an essential part of our success as a human being. If you are not rested, how productive can you be on your business, with your family, with your relationships? Now let's talk about the notable impact on cognition. First one is slow reaction time. If you're not getting enough sleep, this can reduce your attention and learning and processing. It can also interrupt your memory consolidation. Sleep reinforces the information in the brain so it can be recalled when needed, such as declarative memory, like basic facts, statistics, or procedural memory, such as remembering a sequence of steps. It can also diminish placekeeping, meaning the ability to carry out instructions like motor skills, keeping rhythm if you're playing music, and even types of speech. You can also create false memories by not sleeping well. Poor sleep impairs the memory consolidation and it throws off the normal processing for building and retaining memories. Sleep-deprived people are at risk for forming false memories. It can also hinder cognitive flexibility by reducing the ability to adapt and thrive in changing circumstances, which is usually pretty common as being an entrepreneur. It diminishes your ability to learn and do improv on the fly. And it also alters your emotional information. When you're learning something new, analyzing a problem, making a decision, lack of sleep impedes the ability to properly process the emotional component of that information. Lack of sleep means you cannot regulate your mood and the impact of interactions with your clients, customers, coworkers, or even your family. So how do we decrease those negative impacts of the sleep issues and improve our cognitive function? Well, let's talk about the anatomy of sleep. We're going to start off with Western medicine. So it's a very simplified version of sleep. As you probably know, it's a pretty complex system, but here's just the basics. So first we have stage 1, where you're falling asleep or it's a light sleep. Perhaps you're feeling that right now. Stage 2 is when your heart rate slows down, your body temperature drops. Stage 3 and 4 are often combined together. This is the deep sleep when your muscles and tissues repair. And this is something that I repeat to my patients all the time. Well, when we sleep is when we heal. I'm going to say that again. When we sleep is when we heal. So if you're not sleeping, if you're not getting to these deeper stages of sleep, you're probably not healing as efficiently and effectively as you could. And then the last stage is when your body is paralyzed and your dreams begin. This is the REM, the rapid eye movement. And these are all the essential stages to get a full restorative rest that we need. So now let's look at the anatomy of sleep through traditional Chinese medicine or Eastern medicine. Again, very simplified. So we talk about the yin and the yang of sleep. You've probably seen this symbol before, the yin and yang symbol. And this represents how everything flows into each other and stays balanced. So sleep is part of the natural rhythm of the yin and yang qi in the body. And when I say the word qi, I mean energy. And when I mean energy, that is the loose, very inaccurate translation, but the best that we in our Western minds can comprehend what qi means. It's a very complex system, but that's how we can understand it with our minds. So yin and yang qi play opposite roles. In the day, the yang qi dominates as it fuels the body and its activities, keeps us warm and alert. However, as it turns into night, the cooling, quiet, and nourishing yin qi dominates. This helps us slow down our body's activities so we can relax and calm for a good night's sleep. And when the natural rhythm is disrupted, there is an imbalance of that yin and yang, which results in insomnia. Another way to look at this is as a relationship between melatonin and cortisol. So as cortisol decreases, melatonin increases. And for those of you who don't know, melatonin helps us sleep at night. When we get sleepy, as that melatonin decreases, as the night ends and day begins, the cortisol increases and then we wake up. So you see there's a symbiotic relationship between the melatonin and the cortisol in our body, which is very similar to how we explain the yin and the yang of the body when it comes to sleep. Now let's take a look at this traditional Chinese medicine circadian clock. I love this image. So what this shows that there is a 2-hour window where your body focuses energy on an organ system. For example, if we look at the inner circle, which is daytime, the outer circle is nighttime, we can see that the stomach time is between 7 and 9. And what do we say that is? The most important time to eat breakfast is between 7 and 9 a.m. And this is why, because this is when the body focuses on the stomach for digestion. Let's look at the opposite of that, liver time. That's 1 to 3 a.m. So if you ever stayed out late, went to the bar close, and you got a second wind and you decided, for those of you who drink, you can drink a little more. This is why, because the body focuses on the liver, it metabolizes that alcohol, and you get that second wind, right? So we can go through each of these and talk about how each of them represent the different organs at the different times and could explain what is happening at different times based on what time you might be waking up, right? So if you wake up between 1 and 3 a.m., that's the liver time. 3 to 4 a.m. is the lung time. I had a roommate who smoked a lot, and she would always wake up between 3 and 5 a.m. coughing, and so on and so forth. So you can look through this on your own. I'll include it in the manual, and you can take a look at where your sleep or digestion might be interrupted. So now that we have a framework for understanding sleep, let's get into some details on how to improve it. I'm going to talk about the power of restorative sleep, and I will be focusing on these 4 topics to emphasize the power behind sleep. So first, let's talk about digestion. What does digestion have to do with sleep? Well, we have the gut-brain connection. Perhaps you've been hearing about this new terminology that's making its way into mainstream. If we look at the health of your body systematically, we might find that when you're dealing with sleep, sometimes an airway issue, everything in your body is linked, and an airway issue like snoring or sleep apnea has an effect on your gut, and your gut has an influence on your health. So the gut-brain connection is a sophisticated system not only responsible for breaking down and absorbing food, but it has neurotissue and neurotransmitters embedded in the walls that make it release hormones such as serotonin. This impacts brain function, including sleep. So let's start with the gut bacteria or microbiome. This is fascinating. The colony of bacteria in your colon outnumbers the entirety of your human cells by a factor of 10. You have more bacteria cells in your gut than you have in your entire body. What does this have to do with your brain? It communicates through the vagus nerve between the brain and the gut. This nerve is the longest nerve in the body. It comes out of the cranium and goes all the way down to the pelvic floor. It is a super highway of information, and its functions include stimulating muscles such as your beating heart or your food digestion. It transmits information from the gut into the brain. Think about that term you've heard before, where you have a gut reaction. You don't have a brain reaction, you have a gut reaction because we get information through our gut. And so for those of you who are really nerdy about this, it interacts with the hypothalamus and the limbic system, which also govern emotions. So more and more studies are showing that depression and anxiety start in the gut. And also the hormones are another way that the gut and the brain connect. The gut microbiome can trigger the release of hormones, as I talked about earlier, or produce them. And the bacteria can communicate with your nervous system and certain types of production of serotonin, like I mentioned. By reducing the serotonin, gut bacteria can interrupt sleep and become a vicious cycle that when it comes to poor sleep, it affects your gut. And if you have bad gut health, then it affects your sleep, and on and on and on and on. So how exactly can improving sleep improve your immunity? Let's talk about the negative effects of sleep loss on the body's immune system. The first one is natural killer cells. Loss of sleep increases your risk for cancer and viral infections. Next is inflammatory cytokines. You've probably heard this term several times over the last 2 years, a cytokine storm. It happens because when we sleep is when we heal, as I said earlier, and this can increase your risk for cardiovascular disorders if you don't have good sleep. And then also, loss of sleep can decrease the production of antibodies, which increases the risk for infection. Next topic is sleep hygiene. So what can you do at home to improve your sleep? The first one is have a night routine. So when you are coming home from the day, if you're coming home from BNI today, give yourself cues to help wind down, brush your teeth, take a bath, read a book, meditate, something that you do repetitively so your body knows that it's time to rest. Next thing for sleep hygiene is to turn down the lights. You can turn off the overhead lights, put on the little lamps, and start to bring the lights down in the apartment, in the house, right? And that's going to cue your brain to start to relax. So if you know you have trouble sleeping at midnight and you want to go to bed at 11, then 10 o'clock, start turning off those lights, turning them down so you have less. Also turn off your screens. That blue light from all those devices prevent the production of melatonin. And while it may increase alertness, it can disrupt the body's internal clock. So dimming those lights can be beneficial. A lot of phones have different things now. So you can have a night light where it changes the color of the screen. Blue light blocking glasses, that's another way that you can help not have that blue light stimulating your brain to disrupt sleep. And then having complete darkness, right? Blackout drapes, completely shutting down devices. Anyone have flashing lights on their devices and their plugs and their computer, right? Give yourself complete darkness. Think about it as shutting down the computer, right? If your brain was a computer, sometimes it starts to malfunction and glitch. And what do? You turn it off completely and you restart it. So think about that as sleep, as you're plugging and unplugging your computer, you're plugging and unplugging your brain, but you got to give yourself that complete darkness in order for you to get that optimal sleep. So I challenge you, which of these 4 habits would you be willing to do tonight? Have a night routine, turn down the lights early, turn off the screens, or give yourself complete darkness. So now let's talk about some natural sleep recommendations. So I've got a lot of these, and I hope that you have a pen and paper out for some notes. So the first thing that I want to share is herbs and food for sleep. We use food as medicine in Eastern medicine, and so we're going to talk about just a couple of those. The first one is called Swanzo Wren. It is a sour jujube seed. It's been used for thousands of years and is best known for treating insomnia. You can flash fry it, put it into hot water, drink it like a tea. Datsao is the Chinese date. It quiets the mind and neural activity. Scientific studies have confirmed that it has a bioactive compound that extends the average sleep time and increases that REM sleep. Again, something you can drink as a tea at the end of the day. And then tart cherry juice. Make sure it's 100% juice. This astringes the mind, cools the body, and has traces of melatonin. I always tell patients to have this in their fridge and take a swig of it before they go to bed. All you need is 2 ounces. Put it in a shot glass if you want. Or if you wake in the middle of the night and you have trouble falling back asleep, take a swig of this and see if it helps you fall back asleep quicker. And now I'm going to share a few essential oils for sleep. And there are hundreds out there, but this is just a few that I suggest. The first is chamomile oil. It's a mild sedative. It can calm the nervous system. Next is ylang ylang, which helps balance the right and the left sides of the brain. It helps you fall asleep faster. And lastly is lavender. Falling asleep faster, longer sleep duration, can reduce blood pressure, regulate breathing. And so I always suggest for patients to have this around and rub it on your heels at night to help you sleep. This is especially beneficial for children who have trouble sleeping. Just a drop of lavender on the bottoms of the feet, and that can help them have a good restful night. So let's talk about some nightly add-ons, things that you can include in your night routine. First is an Epsom salt bath. Epsom salts are amazing. If you haven't tried it, you should definitely get some. They're super cheap. You can get them at any grocery store or Walgreens. Buy them on Amazon. What they do is they relax the muscles and reduce stress. It's great to just throw in your bathtub. You can throw some essential oils in there too. It's a really nice thing to do for yourself. Putting cold water on your feet. So this can help descend your chi. So if you're overthinking and you can't turn your mind off when you're sleeping at night, there's too much chi in your head. And what you can do is descend that chi, get it to go down and ground into your body. You can do that by just turning on the cold water and putting your feet under the cold water for a few seconds. It's a great way to calm the mind. Next, CBD products. Check your state, of course, but there's more and more research showing that CBD can help decrease inflammation, which is often what keeps people awake if they're in pain or discomfort, and can also release tension. You can take a warm shower, right? Relaxes the muscles, decreases stress as well. Drinking some hot tea can be really nice, non-caffeinated. It can heat and soothe and relax the body while you're reading a book, while you're watching Netflix, as you're winding down. This can be a nice addition. Meditation, of course, it can relax the body and the brain. It increases those natural melatonin levels as well. And I like this one, listening to solfeggio frequencies. This can release tension, bring you clarity and peace of mind. There's lots of apps out there, even on YouTube. You could probably find a link for this, but it can be a really nice way to help calm your mind. So I'm going to talk about Chinese medicine for sleep. The first is acupuncture. It can bring you a sense of peace, calm your mind, reduce tension. increase your relaxation. Many of my patients report back that the day of an acupuncture session, that's when they get the best night's sleep. We can also prescribe Chinese herbal formulas. Do something that's customized for your body. We can address sleep issues. It's a very common thing that I treat in the clinic, and it can relax your mind and body. And of course, acupressure. It's a DIY technique. It's good for stress relief, targets specific ways to balance your body. And I'm now going to show you a few acupressure techniques. So here is the first one. It's called pericardium 6. So if you go to the inside of your wrist, you're going to find these two tendons right in the middle here. And you're going to take 3 fingers, find your crease, and at the end of that crease, that is where you're going to find it, right between those 2 tendons, pericardium 6. So this is a good one that soothes anxiety, promotes deeper sleep, and it can also help with nausea. It's another great one. They've even made little C-bands, they call them, where you have a little button that pushes on here to help it relax. And next is what we call spleen 6, the 3 yin crossing. I'm not going to show this one to you because it's on the leg, and that would be very awkward at this moment. However, as you can see from the picture, it's on the inside of the leg. So if you find your ankle bone or the medial malleolus, and again, you put those 3 fingers down next to it, on the other side, that's where you're going to find the point. And there's usually a little dip in there. Sometimes it's tender on people. This one helps balance hormones and reduce stress and anxiety. Next is large intestine 4, called the joining valley. It's between the pointer finger and your thumb, right? And it's in that meaty part right in there. So you can just massage that with your thumb. It releases upper body tension, headaches. Maybe you've heard about this before. And can also calm the mind and relieve any stress that you might have. Next and lastly is heart 7, the spirit gate. So it's on the outside, the pinky side. You're going to find that tendon and come to the inside, and you can massage that point as well. This is a great one to calm the mind, calm the heart. If you have anxiety or panic attacks, this is a great point that can help you relax as well. And before we move off this slide, I'm going to show you the technique. So when you find the point, all you need to do is massage it in a circle for 10 to 30 seconds. You can come back and do it again and do a couple cycles of that until you feel the shift in your body. Some people may have to do it longer than others, but this is nice to have in your toolbox to use if you're ever having sleep issues, if you're tossing and turning. Try using one of these points or all of these points and see if they help. And you can do it on both sides of the body. We have come to the end of this presentation, and hopefully I have done my job and you're asleep right now, or you're ready to apply some of these suggestions to your evening. Either way, I hope that this has helped benefit you understand more about sleep and immunity, digestion, hygiene, and you now have some recommendations that you can use to improve your sleep. And if you enjoyed all this information, I love educating people, and I have done that by putting digital products out. The first one is Herbs Immunity Health. This is a book that I wrote during the pandemic with a colleague of mine. We realized there wasn't a lot of resources for people for how they could support their immune system at home. So we include a lot of what to do when symptoms that we list out, like cough, sore throat, headache, and different things that you can do at home with herbs, acupressure, and food. And then I also offer telehealth sessions for people who might not be local that are looking for support. You can also do herbal consults virtually. And I wrote a couple of ebooks. The first one, Brain Fog, which was really important because so many people post-COVID are having brain fog issues. So we wrote a book about that. I also wrote one on depression and anxiety because a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed. Right now, this pandemic has been going on for a long time and they need support. Another ebook available is the top 6 herbs to boost your immune system. And then lastly, if you go to my course pages, I have meditations, tons of free videos, infographics, lots of information to educate you about your health and wellness. That is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this presentation. Here's a list of all the ways that you can connect with me. Don't hesitate to send me an email. Let me know what you thought of the presentation. I can answer any questions that you might have. And I hope you have a glorious night of sleep.